Hello, and welcome to the first edition of me going live here on YouTube. And so, what we are going to do is that we are going to react to some of these videos that I have collated together into this playlist that I called Provocative Polemics, of course, so original. And there are a lot of spicy videos in here that I'm going to be reacting to every single one that is on here. And so let's jump right into it. All right. Uh, I'm trying to. Let's delete this. Add video capture. There we go. Sorry about that. I just had to realize that I need to reverse all of that next time. So now we can go ahead and get started. So unfortunately, I already know this video is mono. So the thing is that we're unfortunately only going to be hearing it out of the left side. So I apologize for that, but this is a great video.
The statistics on how many people have seen What Is Woman are absolutely astounding.
When we tweeted out the film, it got more than
170 million
This is an
views.
amazing
171 million.
More views.
I was going to talk about women and power, the lessons of the 20th century, because I think there's a lot of triumphalist talk that masks the real historic situation. And apparently people have decided that because I don't think that post-operative transgender men, i.e. M2F, transgender people are women, I'm not to be allowed to talk.
But surely if a man who feels that he actually would like gender reassignment to make him, her, feel more comfortable in her body, then that's what should be done. They should be allowed to do that.
I'm not saying that people should not be allowed to go through that procedure. What I'm saying is it doesn't make them a woman. It happens to be. I was going.
Yeah, and she's absolutely
striving
right.
to less. I think.
Yeah, and so she's absolutely right. The fact is that we don't care how you identify or like what name you want to go by or anything like that. What we have a problem with is the rejection of reality and truth. And so the fact that we have people who identify as transgender, we should obviously love them as our neighbor, and we should treat them with kindness and dignity. But the thing is, you're either a very effeminate man, right, or a very masculine woman. Neither of those makes you a woman or a man, respectively. And so the thing is, and this is going to be my slogan, and I should probably get some merch and have this be on there, but words have meaning, okay? They're called definitions. And so if we don't use words for their intended meaning, then how are we supposed to communicate with each other, right? And so the thing is that man and woman, right, have for almost the entirety of human history meant a male for man and female for woman, right? So woman is specifically an adult human female, and man is an adult human male, right? And so the thing is, like, when I was younger, I played with some Barbie dolls and did some other stereotypically feminine things, but that didn't make me a woman. I'm not a woman. I'm a man. I have XY chromosomes, and I present outwardly, or my phenotype, right? My genotype is not only male, but my phenotype is also of the male characteristic, because there are only two categories for humans. You're either a male or a female, man and woman for gender. And so the fact is that it is a binary, right? And so let's continue on with this.
I think that a great many women don't think that post-operative or even non-post-operative transsexual M to F transsexual people look like, sound like, or behave like women, but they daren't say so.
But just because they daren't say so doesn't mean that that person can't feel like that and feels more comfortable with themselves.
Yeah, but so what? That's not my issue. I don't even talk about it. Not everybody does feel comfortable, by the way, post-operatively. There's been a couple of cases I found very interesting where the actual acceptor of the procedure has felt that it's been a disaster.
But for those who do not feel it's been a disaster and feel more comfortable, then do you understand how they might feel that you have been hurtful towards them?
People are hurtful to me all the time. Try being an old woman. I mean, for goodness sake. People get hurt all the time. I'm not about to walk on eggshells.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You have to walk on eggshells now, unless you're someone who just doesn't care, and you elaborate the truth and you outwardly speak it, and you're very assertive and demonstrative with your views and opinions like me. And so the thing is that I was in a group chat with my lab up in OSU. The group chat that we had on GroupMe, I believe it was GroupMe, and so they were talking about how someone in the lab wasn't there, and of course it was during Pride Month or June, and I was just like, what's so special about June 1st? And they said that it's Pride Month, because I don't care. And so I don't really know a lot of the holidays except for my religious holidays and stuff that matters to me, right? And so, which of course now doing all of this, I'm getting well acquainted with other things, because they are very popular and awesome things to talk about. But the fact of the matter is that science and talk about work and such, and they basically told me that if I don't like it, then I can leave. But of course, if I were to bring up how I don't support abortion, or I won't call someone a man who is clearly a woman, right? A female who is going through gender dysphoria, or one of the trans-trenders, as they're called nowadays, where they're just jumping on the bandwagon, which is really the social contagion that we're going through right now. But the thing is, they can't do anything about that, because it's my freedom of speech, and it's my freedom to express myself. And also, I changed my name on Discord to Abortion Abolitionist, because I'm an abolitionist of abortion, not a pro-lifer, because rapists, murderers, and sexual traffickers, human traffickers, if you sell or trade humans, all three of those categories, you should be put to death. And so also, if I were to be in my home, I will gladly defend myself against someone who is trying to hurt me or my family. And so the thing is, you know, we have to be strong. We have to let people know that they can't just trample over us, and we have to express our points of view.
So you believe in free speech, really, no matter what?
Well, not quite no matter what. You don't have to say everything that's in your mind. You do use tact in the usual way. I would, for example, with someone who wished to be known as female, use female speech forms as a courtesy.
That's very important, right? The thing is, if you want to be someone who is courteous, right, and use the pronouns with which that someone wants to be preferred and called by, that is totally like a nice thing to do. But the thing is that it's still not in concordance with reality, but I guess it is slightly similar to someone saying, well, I know my name is Rodney, but I want to go by Rod, right? So the thing is, it's kind of similar, but not exactly, right? And so, like, I don't know. The thing is, this just gets pretty convoluted and complicated, but let's continue on.
Now, though, people who are intersex are feeling a little more confident about coming forward and a level of acceptance. But for example, a woman who outwardly has female genitalia but inside has testes and doesn't wish to have them, rather than accepting that she has them, she should be allowed, shouldn't she, and offered the chance to remove these inner testes.
We remove undescended testicles from men because they're dangerous. I'm sure they wouldn't be allowed to just lurk because that would be, I think that would be a problem. I mean, physically a problem. But then it's also a problem if what you have to do after gender reassignment is use steroids every day of your life. That's not a happy outcome either.
But it may be a happy outcome for them, and they may feel that you are in a way denigrating them for taking that road.
Oh, don't even talk about them. They're not my issue. I don't...
The transgender community.
There's been 2 votes at my college on the question of whether or not I should have an honorary degree. And I'm not going to get one. They've been turned down, which is thought by some people to be astonishing, but not by me.
So someone like Caitlyn Jenner, for example, who has been who's been in the front of lots of magazines and apparently is, I think I'm right in saying, getting an award for being a kind of glamour woman of the year. What do you think about that?
I think it's misogynist. I think misogyny plays a really big part in all of this. That a man who goes to these lengths will be a better woman.
Some of these trans women, right, these men who are either pretending to be women just to be able to get some sort of misogynistic kink off of theirs, right, or the fact that we have someone who is genuinely going through gender dysphoria, right, and they just have an imbalance in their psyche, and if you're religious, in their soul, and there's incongruence there, and they just want to be happy and loved, right? And so the thing is that we need to do everything that we can in order to help and support these people, but putting them through the gender reassignment surgery is not what we should be doing, right? And especially it shouldn't be funded using taxpayers' dollars, right? Because that's just something we should all be in agreement on not doing, because it's something that's cosmetic and something that is non-essential, right? And we can get into the whole healthcare debate at another time, even though that's not an issue that I particularly want to focus on this channel per se, but I am confident that at some point it will be discussed and brought up, and I'll discuss it at that point, or if anyone has a question, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. But let's continue on.
People, you would say, necessarily born a woman are born feeling female, and if he feels more female...
It seems to me that that what was going on there is that she wanted the limelight that the other female members of the family were enjoying, and has conquered it just like that.
Will Young apparently has a new video out, I don't think you've seen it, in which a transgender person is going down the road and is abused. Reasonable position?
Am I mistaken in thinking that this individual is naked and running down the street with just a hand over her genitals? You try running with your sagging breasts down the middle of the fucking street and see what people will throw a blanket over you and grab you and call the police. For fuck's sake. It is simply not true that intersexual people suffer in a way that other people don't suffer.
I love this woman. She is so awesome. Like, clearly, if you are exposing yourself, that's not anyone attacking you for the way with which you identify or anything like that. Any common, like, person on the street, anyone who has a lick of intelligence, rationality, would be able to see that it's because you're exposing yourself to other people. And that's not legal. And especially if you're doing it in front of children, that should not be permissible, and you should be stopped for that.
Would you ever consider saying something more ameliorating?
No. I'm getting fed up with this, you know. I've had things thrown at me. I've been accused of things I have never done or said. People seem to have no concern about evidence or indeed even about libel.
If a man has his gender reassigned and outwardly, and he feels inwardly is a woman, in your view, can he be a woman or not?
No.
Do you understand how people feel that's insulting?
I don't care. People get insulted all the time. Australians get insulted every day of the week.
Finally, if your safety is guaranteed, will you go to Cardiff?
I'm getting a bit old for all this. I'm 76. I don't want to go down there and be screamed at and have things thrown at me. Bugger it. It's not that interesting or rewarding.
Jeremy Greer, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, this woman is awesome. And so the thing is that we need to protect her at all costs. Although I wonder if she's still alive. Here, let's look that up. Yeah, apparently she's still alive. All right. That's pretty awesome. So the next one we're going to be looking at is raising babies, letting kids choose their gender.
My store and my design business were exploding, but my old internet was not letting me run the show. So we switched to Verizon Business Internet. They have business-grade internet nationwide.
Make the switch. It's your business. It's your Verizon.
I need to transfer my...
half years old, and we're raising them using they, them, their gender-neutral pronouns so that they can decide for themselves when, if, and how they want to identify as a.
And you're just going to set them up for failure. And you're going to set them up for ridicule and humiliation, and you should be ashamed of yourself as an apparent.
Gender.
Yeah, so I think this one is a male boy, and I think this one is a female girl, all right? So, but I have a feeling they're going to say that we're not going to disclose that because no one has a right to know what's between their legs, when the fact is no one's caring about that, right? We're just caring about the truth and reality, right? And the fact is that the prevalence, right, the actual amount of people in the United States alone, right, who suffer from gender dysphoria, right, who genuinely have an incongruence with their perceived gender and sexual identity, as well as their outward expression of themselves. They're in incongruence with each other. The prevalence or the number of people who actually fit within that category is such a low number that your children probably are not a part of that. And so you should not essentially be seeding them with this ideology and everything about this. But let's continue.
So I think that knowing the sex of other people partially just because it's part of the social script, they don't notice that they're any different from any other children because they have no idea that some children are she and some children are he.
All right.
To them, they're all children, so like they don't notice any difference, and the other kids that they're with don't notice any difference.
Good job, guys. Have a good summer.
A lot of young girls are, when they grow up, they're told, you know, don't get dirty, don't do that, that's not safe, be careful, those kinds of things, and then they grow up to...
Did she just say young girls? Did she just concede the fact that you're either a girl or you're a boy? Like, the fact that she used that gendered language in the general just proves our point, right? There are two classes of humans, and you're either a male or a female, right? And of course, there are going to be people out there who are going to say that that is your biological sex, not your gender, and that gender is a social construct and not innately tied with your biological sex, when that is scientifically and anthropologically inaccurate.
I think that they're not capable of doing all
these people. And so the fact is that, like, she knows in her head what's true and what's real, right? She knows what the reality is, but she's just rejecting it.
Gender is not something that we have discussed with either of them at all, really.
We're as nervous about that as...
You haven't discussed it with them at all, and yet you're immediately forcing them into this ideology. Like, the fact that, like, this is legal is just astonishing.
Most parents are about, like, how are babies made.
They haven't really asked about it, so we're waiting until that question comes up. I think we're just kind of gonna wing it a little bit when we get there, but you know, telling them that, you know, gender is something that's fluid, and you know, a lot of people have penises, identify as being boys, but that's not something that is necessary if you feel like you're a girl, and vice versa.
There is research that shows when you use gender binaries in our language, when we say good morning boys and girls, or when we just say to our kids, come on girls, or what a smart boy you are, using gender to sort and categorize and label kids, we do know that that increases gender stereotypes.
Do you want the hair?
Well, yes and no. Like, the thing is that the stereotypes are there because it is a prevalent characteristic of that particular class, right? And so the thing is, obviously, a stereotype is in general, most of the time, like, true, right? But it's not true for everyone within that class. And, like, everyone knows this, right? But the thing is that people want to reject this yet again.
Flip in your hair? Do you need help, or are you gonna do it yourself? You did it!
Yeah, this Facebook community for raising babies is 220 members across the U.S., and this was like a few years ago, or like 4 years ago, something like that. I doubt the number has gone up to several tens of thousands, but like I could totally see this being a few hundred or even a couple thousand. But like, think of that number compared to the total number of parents in the United States and how small of a fraction of the population that is. And the fact is that these people are the ones with the loudest voices currently within politics in the world, because their ideology is getting purported through corporations and through schools and even higher education, and it's kind of terrifying. But that's why we are here to combat it.
As a result of raising our kids as babies, I'm hoping that they'll grow up and be supportive of other people and who they are and how they feel, and really confident and happy in who they are themselves.
Well, you should want your children to love themselves in a healthy manner, because clearly pride is an issue, right? And egotism is an issue. But the thing is that you should also teach them to love and respect everyone, right? But that doesn't mean to allow them to live in a delusion or just completely reject reality and just live in a falsehood, right? Or say things that are factually and scientifically incorrect just because of someone's feelings. All right, so let's do another short video to conclude this first stream. Let's do pro-gun versus anti-gun, middle ground.
The area that I grew up in, sometimes a gun is the only way to protect yourself. You're anti-gun. You don't want nobody to have guns. But then that's gonna put my family at danger.
Exactly.
The pool to the left, I'm gonna have all my pro-gun people go stand on the edge of that light, and all my anti-gun people on the other side. First statement is, I think my views on guns could change.
Ha! Funny. She got peer pressured. She was like, oh, no one's going up. I need to go
feel like
up.
anyone's views can change on things, so I'm kind of surprised that nobody felt like it could change at all.
Oh, the anti-gun people are on the right. Normally, when I watch these videos, they have like the pro people on the right, like the more conservative point of view, right? Because most of the time these are polarized for Democrat versus Republican and whatnot. But like, yeah, the fact that anti-gun was on the right, I think that's astonishing.
Completely to like the other side, but I would definitely be open to like looking at it from a different perspective.
Join large-scale battles with military vehicles. The online action game War Thunder has received a major update, Direct Hit.
I think that my stance is very accommodating to both sides. That said, I feel really solid about kind of what I've learned and what I think is possible. So I feel really solid about that, although I'm, open to accommodating for people's needs, people's wishes with their rights.
My name is Aaron Clayton. After the Orlando shooting, I realized that my community was very much a target. I had to get involved to do something.
Okay, so are you emotionally responding to the act of violence that occurred, or are you going to respond with rationale and intellectual thought on it, right? So there was a shooting in Dayton. It was called the oh man, what's that place called? It's a very famous place to drink in is it the Oregon district? Yeah, it's the Oregon district. So I have a friend. His name is Etienne. Actually, I haven't spoken with him in a while. I hope he's doing well. But one night, I did not go out with him, right? We used to go out drinking all the time, and we would go to Jungle Gyms and other breweries and like collect the bottle caps of the drinks that we would have, because we would drink all kinds of like different craft beer and all of that. And so one night I just didn't go with him. I was just like, I'm just gonna stay in and study and just watch some TV and whatnot. And I shit you not, that night was the night that Dayton shooting happened, and I woke up, I slept fantastic of knowing what the hell happened that night. And so I woke up, right? And I missed a lot of phone calls, and I had a bunch of text messages on my phone, literally dozens of them, right? And so I was astonished that I didn't get woken up by any of the notifications because I'm actually quite a light sleeper. So I was more surprised than anything about like not waking up, and I thought I was still dreaming. I was like, there's no way that I woke up with all of these messages. But my sister and other friends and family messaged me asking me if I was okay, and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. What are you talking about? Like, I just woke up. And they're just like, there was a shooting in Dayton. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's Dayton. Like, there are probably shootings a few times a week, if not every day, in certain parts of Dayton and Ohio. And so they told me, no, there was a mass shooting, which I don't like that term. Okay, so the fact that they use the word mass, right, means that it should be a large number, right? But if you say mass shooting for anything below like 15, I don't classify that as a mass shooting. Just say it's a shooting, right? You are using trigger and buzzwords to try to invoke a response out of people and to get them to think a certain way about something, right? No matter how tragic it is, right? It's a tragedy if one innocent person dies versus 100 people, right? Clearly, 100 people is probably going to invoke more of a sincere emotional response than one, because like obviously losing 100 innocent people losing their life is more tragic than one, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they're misnomering this. But anyway, I was astonished because I was just like, that's kind of surprising, because I literally decided not to go out that night. And so I'm still pro-gun, right? And I'm pro-self-defense. I think those who live on college campuses should be able to carry and should be able to defend themselves, because I felt like I couldn't when I was in my apartment up at the university at Wright State, where I did my undergrad. And so I lived up there for 2 years of my undergrad, and I wish I was able to practice my Second Amendment right of carrying and possessing my firearm while I lived up there. And so I don't think you should respond to very tragic and dire situations like this out of emotion. You should come at it with a thought of rationality and be able to intellectually look at it and dissect it and see that this was a tragedy, and I understand that this makes me very upset that someone who either possessed the gun legally or perhaps even illegally, and they had something going through their mind that caused them to commit this heinous act. And I should know that it is not the weapon, but the bearer who pulled the trigger, right? Because as the old adage goes, a gun doesn't fire on itself until someone pulls the trigger, right? And of course, someone will say, oh, that's not necessarily true because there are random firings of the piston and whatnot. But the thing is, like, clearly you're missing the point. But anyway, let's get back to this.
Sometimes I think people on the other side of the issue don't care about me or my loved ones' lives.
Ooh, before seeing who all walks up, that's a very interesting and loaded question. Because the people who are anti-gun are going to say, well, you don't care about our lives because you just want to own guns and you don't want to stop the killing. Whereas the pro-gun people are going to say, well, you know, you're trying to take away my way of defending my family, so you don't care about my family because I want to defend them. And so should we just die if someone invades our home? But let's see.
I gotta go with that one. On my side of the earth, there is no gun laws.
My name is Asani Hill. Regardless of whatever you say, there's always going to be guns. There's always going to be violence in the world, and I got family to protect.
exactly what he just said. No matter what you do, if you remove guns, right, and you make them illegal, the thing is that the criminals will either, one, purchase them on the underground market, whether you want to say black market or street market, whatever. So we'll just go with underground market to not lose any sort of ambiguity and such, because there are differences. But anyway, I digress. So whether or not they get it from the underground market, or if they resort to using a different violent weapon to commit these heinous acts with which they are compelled to do, right, they're still going to commit these acts. If you make all guns illegal, right, and you have the government confiscate all of them, right, are we also going to outlaw cutting knives? Are we going to outlaw like switchblades? Are we going to outlaw like baseball bats? Like, they will find a weapon. They will commit their crimes, right? And the fact is that you don't need to punish the tool. You need to punish the user of the tool, right? Just because someone accidentally gets a nail in their head because someone misfired a nail gun, right? Kind of on point here. The thing is that it wasn't the nail gun's fault. It was the person who held the hand or the nail gun, right? And so, like, these accidents do occur and they do happen, right? And so the thing is, clearly we're not going to put the nail gun through the judicial system, right? Because any rational and intellectual human being will be able to see that it's not the tool, it's the user of the tool.
I don't think y'all don't care about me or my family, I think we all care about, each other and each other's others, loved ones.
I don't care about y'all. I'm trying to protect me and mine.
Yeah, I feel you.
That's my reason of saying that nobody else cares about it, because I'm pretty sure y'all have the same insight. Like, you're anti-gun. You don't want nobody to have guns. But then that's gonna put my family at danger.
I don't want.
But that's not at all.
Yeah, I don't want
that's
nobody
at all
to have
what we're
guns.
saying. I think that there
That's
are
just
ways.
how I feel. Like,
Totally.
The pro-gun.
I don't know when this video was made. We'll check that in a second. But the anti-gun side of the aisle has increasingly become more, I don't want to say the word violent. They've become more headstrong on wanting to remove guns and stop people from owning them, right? As opposed to just regulation and saying, oh, you should get trained for this. Oh, you should have some classes for this. Oh, you should get a mental health and wellness check to make sure that you're okay and sane enough to have these guns. When the fact is that the Second Amendment of the Constitution has none of those written in there. Now, do any of the pro-gun people want no regulations? Well, in some circumstances and in some ways, of course, we don't want any sort of regulations, such as like the pistol braces, right? Which absolutely do nothing to enhance or really increase the deadliness of the weapon or anything like that. And so it's just very interesting, the rhetoric that some people use when they're on the anti side versus the pro side of the gun issue here. Because they're like, oh, no, we don't want to take away all your guns. We just want to make it next to impossible for you to get them. Or we just want more regulation. And then they go, and as soon as they try to get legislation in the works and try to get it passed, you know what it is? I had my gun because I was going to my friend's house, right? And I carry almost any opportunity that I can, because you never know when your life is going to be in danger. You never know when an act of violence might occur towards you, and you need to be prepared and you need to be well equipped. Whether or not that's just situational awareness or whether or not that's you actually having something to defend yourself with. But anyway, I was going to a friend's house and this car was next to me. All right. I'm looking straight ahead, about to turn left to go to the road that connects to his road, that where his house is, right? And so out of the corner of my eye and my peripheral vision, I saw this man just staring at me, right? And I look over and I see him. He's totally staring me down. All right, he's in the lane to my right, as I said, and that's a straight only lane, right? And in order for him to come back to me, he's going to have to turn into a business and then turn right again, because there is another middle lane that turns the opposite way that I'm turning. And then there are 2 other lanes on that side. All right. And so I turn, right, when I'm able to, and I see him go forward, and he does a U-turn in the middle of the road. Okay. That's immediately where, like, I'm on alert, and I'm like, okay, this is not good. I continue. I go to the first stop sign on the road, and I see that he pulls in there. I go forward, and I turn right onto my friend's street, and his is like the 3rd house on the left or something like that. And it's a dead end. It just goes straight into a field. Like, the road like comes to an abrupt end. Like, there's the road, and the line that goes through the middle literally goes straight into the grass. And so I turn in my friend's driveway. I back out of it to park in front of the house that's beside his, and I see that car come towards me, right? And he's staring me down as he's going through. And I'm just thinking to myself, maybe he lives here, right? Like, there is a minute, small chance that he, right? I see him pull into a driveway, and I'm like, okay, if he backs up, I'm getting my firearm and I'm putting it on my lap. And that is exactly what happened. So I pulled my weapon out of my bag. I had it on my lap, safety off. Trigger finger on the side, because you got to have good trigger finger control. And so he pulls up to me, right? Here is my car. He is pulled forward in front of me, but turned a little bit just so that I can't go forward without hitting his car. He rolls down his window, right? And I barely roll down mine. And he asked me if I was Russell. And I'm just like, no, sir, that is not I. He's like, okay. He drives away. I notated his license plate number, called the police, informed them. Apparently this guy is wanted for human trafficking. So go figure. So I almost could have defended myself and saved a bunch of people from human trafficking, but regardless, and I got notified by them, they found him, and he's put away. So that's pretty astonishing and quite an amazing story, but we continue.
I grew up in St. Louis, so we'd go downtown where there's a huge amount of violence. We're at Home Depot, and there's guys starting to gather around my dad's truck, and I'm in it alone. I'm 14 years old. And literally I had to pull my dad's gun out while I'm shaking, and literally just set it on my lap. And to show that, it ended up potentially violent, potentially robbery, you know?
I don't think people automatically are born are like, I'm pro-gun. Like, I think what you experience in your life makes you that way.
My name is Sarah. It wasn't until recently that my opinion changed on how I felt about guns, and then I became pro-gun in order to protect me and my future family.
I was never pro-gun before, and then some guy broke into my place and raped me. And I couldn't run away, I couldn't do anything, like literally had to lay there and take it. But I knew that if I had a gun at that point in time on my nightstand, I would have defended myself.
I think America has a problem with mass shootings.
Leonardo da Vinci.
So my answer to that prompt, does America have a problem with mass shootings? I don't think America or any country has a problem with mass shootings. I think they have a mental health crisis that is leading to people committing this act as well as others. And so the fact of the matter is that it's not that we condone, support, or try to encourage this behavior, right? The fact is that this is an occurrence, right? And it does happen with a large enough frequency that You know, it is seen on the news often, right? But the thing is that if we arm teachers who have been properly trained, if we put security officers or even police officers
anyone to die. Like, I don't want to see these school shootings. I don't want people to get hurt. We're all for protecting ourselves, but I think like when guns are not in the right hands, then it becomes an issue. And I don't think any of us support that at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So you all for like stricter gun laws or no?
I mean, there's a point where it goes too far. I don't think I need to take a 5,000 questionnaire for a psychological test, you know?
But like, isn't that worth it? And like...
No, because there are some things that they allegedly claim should proclaim able to own a gun when it absolutely does not, right? Antisocial behavior, or the fact that you don't want to perhaps be socialized with other people, does not mean that you have a deeply rooted, seething hunger for annihilating people with firearms or other weapons, right? And so some of these red flag laws are just straight up unconstitutional, and none of them should be written. And they should all be abolished because they clearly go against our rights and freedoms.
I'm not saying that that's necessarily what we would definitely do or whatever, but like a 5,000 questionnaire or like people's lives.
But sometimes,
like, wouldn't you rather?
That is a terrible ultimatum, and that is such a fallacy in this argument.
Would you be willing to go through the same process to get an automobile? Training, licensing, class?
Yeah. Well, excuse me, but the fact is that your driver's license, yeah, that is a privilege. That is not a right. That privilege can be revoked if you do certain things, right? Such as too many DUIs, too many marks on your license, and etc. Like, there are plenty of things that you can have your license revoked for, right? And it is a privilege that you can lose permanently, right? You can also lose your gun rights depending upon the crimes that you commit, right? However, the thing is, depending upon the jurisdiction within which you live and how you rehabilitate yourself, you can get your gun rights back. But that is a key difference that those who are mostly on the left do not understand. Driving, right? You do have to go through rigorous tests for that, right? And everything, because it is a privilege, right? You need a license for it, right? However, when it comes to owning a gun, that is all right, baby.
Is a renewable license.
Yeah, but not a psychological test.
I think it doesn't have to be so extensive, what you're saying, but it's sad how someone can come into a gun show and have a lot of money, buy whatever they want, show maybe a little card or something, and get like maybe 20 guns. And no one's asking you just because you have money. A simple background check can just do a lot for people.
Okay, so in America, and I know at least in my state, but I cannot account for every state because I guarantee the ones that are pretty far left probably don't allow for the private sale of firearms. However, if there is a private sale, you don't have to go through a federal background check in order to buy that firearm from that person. But in the general case, if you go to like Rural King or some other place with which sells guns, right? You do go through a background check. It's a federal background check. And there are certain things that you do that precludes you from being able to pass that background check. And it checks your records, and it's kind of extensive. Of the times, like the shop owners and the people working at the shop attempting to sell the gun to you with which that you're attempting to purchase, right? Sometimes they have to call the FBI, right? And say, hey, why isn't this going through? Or, hey, what's the problem with this? Can you elaborate? Is this an okay to go sale? There's a lot that goes into it, and I know my buddy Doug could talk all about it because that's kind of something that he does. So perhaps I can invite him on the show. But anyway, let's continue.
But I also think that a lot of people, like, because they don't want to have the conversation about gun violence, and they switch over and say, like, oh, it's mental illness. And, like, that needs to be talked about, too. But gun violence is a separate issue that also, like, really needs to be.
No, they are directly linked. unless it's like a gang-related crime or mostly a mental health issue. And it is something that we need to talk about because it's not, again, it is not the gun, it is not the tool that is committing these crimes and performing these heinous acts. It is the user of the tool.
We talked about.
If my life was in danger, I would kill.
Oh, hell yeah.
100%.
Can I walk faster?
No, I literally don't think I would have like it in. I don't know if I would have
Nobody has it in them until the moment comes.
Yeah.
Like literally fear doesn't even become a thing anymore. Yeah. Like it disappears and it's like fight or flight.
Yeah.
Like, and you either freeze and die or you make it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I'm gonna make it.
Some people don't got it in them. You can always just, shoot them in a place where they won't.
A little comment on what he just said before I paused. You don't shoot to kill. You shoot to stop or neutralize the threat, right? You shoot to protect, not to kill. There's a big difference in the verbiage, and it can be used against you.
I guess I don't understand. I understand fighting for your life. That's why I came to the center, for sure. But like all this talk about like how to protect ourselves, how to be in these situations, blah, blah, blah. It's like, again, we're just increasing guns. And I want to bring us back to like, how can we combat this from the other end? I don't want to carry guns. I don't want to have guns in my club. I don't want to. I want to be there to dance. I don't want to have a firearm on my leg and like
But we
be with
live in a
friends.
society that.
Yeah.
So you rather
can't
just
we-
not
but
have a gun?
I don't think we
But
can
can't we-
retract from that though.
Yes, we can.
We can because other countries have done that.
Yeah,
That's
but you're
right.
taking the right away.
No,
at
no,
that
no. But
point.
wait. If I can prove to you that there are ways to enact gun reform that will decrease the amount of guns out there, increase education, and not hurt the ability of law-abiding citizens to have access to firearms, would you be willing to discuss ways to do that?
Yeah, like I said, I'm all for education. But I don't think, like, at the end of the day, like, if someone's trying to kill me, I'm gonna kill them. I mean,
Okay, so that's, but that is, you're allowed to right now. You're
Yeah.
allowed to have that gun. And so we keep kind of saying what.
Okay, then what is it that you're saying, buddy? Because clearly, like, pretty moot, because you're trying to say that you don't want people to have guns, but you want them to have guns, and you don't want to stop law-abiding citizens from having guns, but you want to restrict them from being able to access and utilize their Second Amendment right. So kind of dissonant there.
Is already in place. This is already possible to have all of these guns. Like, how can we start looking at this and changing our minds and our Congress, our government, leaders' minds? You guys keep talking about education, but that is not a reality. Yeah. In that we're not allowed to instill reform that gives us gun education. So it's just like layman's ideas, batting around ideas on how to kill. How to kill.
I'm overall against violence at the end of the day. I wouldn't need or want to have a gun if there wasn't violence in the world. But sometimes it's a right because it's a necessity sometimes.
So how do we do that, where we start changing the conversation, where people don't immediately relate pro-gun to, or don't, that pro-gun can equal pro-gun reform?
Oh, I mean, that's why we're all here.
That's why we're all here.
We're all risking something by saying something. I always taught that don't ever state your opinion on hot topics because you're just asking for it at that point. Right. But
that's how I feel sometimes. Like, I am very outspoken. I won't hide my stance on something. I will be very verbose about it. And I am not afraid to assert all of that. And it comes with the risk and expectation to go against the grain and have someone push back sometimes. And I welcome the dialogue and I welcome the disagreement, but I want all of us to be civil and respectful with each other. And I'm very glad that everyone on this panel, because I've seen some of these Jubilee videos, this is Jubilee, right? Yeah. Where they have kind of been very combative with each other, and they've just like disrespected each other, and I'm just like, no, that's not okay.
I feel like you have to speak up because being silent is being just as guilty.
I think the society needs to learn to speak. Like, educated people need to sit down, come together, and talk about things. You guys have something to say, and we said it, and we accept all of each other's views.
Yeah, I told you we would not leave hating each other.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap.
All right, and this has been a wrap for the first stream. And so I look forward to doing all of this again. I am sorry about the technical issues during the first few minutes, and I'm yet again sorry about the ads. I honestly completely forgot that my Pro YouTube subscription, whatever it is on my other YouTube account, not on this one. I need to transfer it. And so, yeah, thanks again for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and visit my link tree to check out the other social media. And if you wouldn't mind, I would totally and sincerely appreciate a donation, whether it's one time or recurring monthly, which is an option on there. And that way I can continue to bring this content to you. And I welcome any and all feedback, and I hope you all have a blessed